Russian President Vladimir Putin stated that he believes the ongoing conflict in Ukraine is approaching its conclusion. While he offered no specific timeline or diplomatic roadmap, the remarks signal a potential shift in Kremlin rhetoric regarding the long-term war. The comment carries weight as international observers look for any indication of a move towards ceasefire negotiations. Analysts are currently debating which side holds the upper hand in the protracted war in Ukraine. Despite significant military aid and shifting front lines, neither Russia nor Ukraine has achieved a decisive strategic victory. This ongoing assessment is critical for Western allies determining the future of military funding and support packages. The war in Ukraine continues to serve as a primary destabilizing force in global geopolitics. International organizations are monitoring the conflict's far-reaching effects on food security, energy prices, and regional alliances. The ongoing nature of this struggle complicates efforts to restore international stability and economic normalcy. Military historians are warning that the conflict in Ukraine is evolving into a long-term war of attrition. This projection suggests that neither side will secure a quick victory, leading to sustained military and economic exhaustion. Such a scenario places immense pressure on both nations to maintain industrial production and troop morale indefinitely. The war between Russia and Ukraine has now persisted for 461 days, marking a grim 4-year milestone. This extended period of fighting has resulted in massive infrastructure destruction and a significant loss of life across the region. The duration of the conflict highlights the failure of early diplomatic efforts to prevent a long-term humanitarian crisis. A surge in massive drone attacks has pushed the conflict between Russia and Ukraine into a more dangerous phase. Both sides are increasingly relying on aerial technology to strike deep behind enemy lines, expanding the theater of operations. This tactical shift increases the risk of accidental escalation that could draw neighboring nations into the fight. A fierce dispute regarding the mandatory military conscription of ultra-Orthodox citizens is threatening the stability of the Israeli government. Secular and religious political factions remain deadlocked, putting the current governing coalition at risk of dissolution. If the government fails to pass a compromise, the country could be forced into snap elections during a time of regional instability. Former British official David Blunkett has released an alternative version of the King's speech to address current national challenges. His proposal outlines a different legislative agenda, focusing on areas he believes the current government has neglected. This move highlights growing public debate over the effectiveness of the UK's current policy priorities. California's legislative fiscal analyst has warned that the state is ill-prepared for the financial demands of Governor Gavin Newsom's proposed budget. The report suggests the current spending plan relies on overly optimistic revenue projections that could lead to significant shortfalls. Lawmakers now face the difficult task of cutting services or raising taxes to balance the state's books. Former President Donald Trump is actively utilizing the federal bureaucracy to dismantle policies established by liberal administrations over the last century. By leveraging executive powers and agency appointments, he is reversing long-standing regulatory frameworks. This shift represents a fundamental change in how the federal government operates and exerts influence over American life. Congressional Republican leaders are scrambling to pass a funding bill to avoid an impending federal government shutdown. The strategy involves navigating deep party divisions to keep essential agencies operational before the current deadline expires. Failure to reach an agreement would result in the suspension of federal services and unpaid leave for millions of government employees. The mayor of Henderson, Nevada, is warning that the failure to extend a critical parks tax would be catastrophic for the city. Local officials argue that the revenue is essential for maintaining public green spaces and essential community services. Voters are being urged to support the extension to prevent a major decline in the city's quality of life. Former President Donald Trump has claimed he personally intervened to delay a military strike on Iran during his tenure. This revelation has heightened tensions in the Middle East as regional actors reassess their understanding of past diplomatic and military standoffs. The statement serves as a reminder of the volatility that defined U.S.-Iran relations under his administration. The World Health Organization is expressing urgent concern over the rapid spread and high mortality rate of a new Ebola outbreak. With the death toll now exceeding 130, several nations have implemented travel bans to curb the virus's transmission. Global health authorities are racing to contain the disease before it reaches a pandemic scale. Iran has issued a new set of conditions for peace, demanding war reparations, the full withdrawal of U.S. troops, and an end to the conflict in Lebanon. The proposal comes as the United States warns that the window for a non-military solution is closing rapidly. These conflicting demands have left international mediators struggling to prevent further regional escalation. Russia has launched 3 days of intensive nuclear forces drills, signaling a show of strength amid the ongoing drone war. The exercises involve high-level coordination between the Russian military and its ally, Belarus, to test readiness for a nuclear exchange. These maneuvers are widely viewed as a message of deterrence aimed at Western nations supporting Ukraine. A fresh wave of Russian airstrikes has severely damaged a critical Danube port in Ukraine, hindering the nation's ability to export goods. The barrage, which included hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles, also resulted in civilian casualties in Kyiv and other regions. This intensified campaign is designed to cripple Ukraine's remaining economic infrastructure and demoralize the population. Chinese President Xi Jinping is hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin in Beijing to solidify their strategic partnership. Coming shortly after a high-profile visit from Donald Trump, the meeting allows China to project an image of stability and global leadership. The two leaders are expected to discuss economic cooperation and mutual political support as they navigate shifting global alliances.